Dusty. He asked the river for a name. You have been walking through your days carrying something heavy, something without a name, something that whispers in the spaces between your thoughts, reminding you of all the ways you believe you have failed. Tonight, we walk together into the darkness not to hide from this weight, but to understand why you have been carrying it for so long. The night holds secrets that daylight refuses to acknowledge. In the gentle hours when the world grows quiet, your soul remembers what it has forgotten how to say. You have been taught that strength means silence, that healing means hiding, that love means earning what should be freely given. But you are tired of pretending, tired of the mask that feels heavier each morning, tired of the voice that tells you that your sadness is selfish, your longing is weakness, your dreams are foolish. Tonight, we set these lies down by the water's edge and listen to what the river has been trying to tell you. There was a time when you knew how to rest, when you trusted the rhythm of your own breathing, when you did not question whether you deserved to take up space in this world. That person is not lost. They're waiting beneath layers of learned fear, beneath years of being told that your sensitivity was too much, your questions too deep, your heart too open. You have been living as if you are a problem to be solved rather than a mystery to be explored, as if your darkness is a flaw rather than fertile ground, as if your wounds are evidence of your weakness rather than proof of your courage to keep feeling in a world that often rewards numbness. The river knows your name. It has always known your name. Not the name others gave you, not the name you earned through achievement or approval, but the name your soul whispered to itself before you learned to doubt your own voice. Tonight we remember that name. Tonight we remember you. You sit by the water now, feeling the cool air move across your skin. The river speaks in a language older than words, older than the stories you have been telling yourself about who you are supposed to be. It speaks of cycles and seasons, of the way water finds its path not by forcing, but by following the deepest truth of its nature. How long have you been forcing? How long have you been pushing against the current of your own soul, believing that struggle equals strength, that resistance equals virtue? You learned this somewhere, in childhood rooms where emotions were dangers to be managed, in school hallways where difference was marked for punishment, in relationships where love came with conditions written in invisible ink. Your body remembers every moment you swallowed your truth to keep peace, every time you made yourself smaller to make others comfortable, every instance you chose safety over authenticity, approval over integrity. These memories live in your shoulders, your jaw, the place behind your heart where breath catches when you think about speaking what you really feel. But tonight, the river offers something different. Tonight, the water invites you to stop swimming upstream against your own nature, to stop apologizing for the parts of yourself that do not fit into the boxes others have built, to stop believing that your healing requires you to become someone else. You have been told that growth means transcending your humanity rather than embracing it. That spiritual awakening means rising above your emotions rather than learning to hold them with tenderness. That maturity means no longer needing what you have always needed. But what if healing is not about becoming invulnerable? What if it is about becoming real? The child within you never stopped believing in magic, never stopped hoping for a love that sees and chooses you exactly as you are, never stopped dreaming of a world where your gifts are welcomed, where your sensitivity is treasured, where your questions are met with curiosity rather than judgment. That child is not naive. That child is wise. You've been grieving the loss of innocence, but innocence was never meant to be lost. It was meant to be protected, nurtured, allowed to grow into something beautiful. Somewhere along the way, you learn to see your tenderness as liability, your trust as foolishness, your hope as weakness. But these are your greatest strengths dressed in the clothes of shame. The water reflects the moon tonight, fracturing its light into 1,000 dancing pieces. Like you, broken into fragments scattered across the surface of years. But look closer. Each fragment still holds the whole moon. Each piece of you still carries the complete truth of who you are. You have been trying to put yourself back together by collecting the approval of others, by achieving enough, by being useful enough, by staying small enough not to threaten anyone's comfort. But you were never broken in the way you thought you were. You were adapted, shaped by circumstances that required you to hide your light to survive. There is a difference between broken and bent, between damaged and defended, between flawed and human. You have been using the wrong words to describe your story, the wrong lens to see your journey. Tonight, we find new words. Tonight, we find a gentler way to hold your becoming. Your wounds are not evidence of your inadequacy. They are proof of your encounter with a world not yet ready for the fullness of who you are. Your scars tell the story of a heart that kept feeling even when feeling meant suffering, of a soul that kept seeking even when seeking meant disappointment, of a spirit that kept hoping even when hope seemed foolish. You carry the medicine this world needs, in your questions that others find uncomfortable, in your depth that others call too much, in your refusal to pretend that surface answers satisfy soul hunger. You're not too sensitive. The world is not sensitive enough. You are not too deep. The world has forgotten how to dive. The river has been calling you home to yourself, home to the parts of you that you sent into exile when the world demanded conformity, home to the dreams you buried when others called them unrealistic, home to the love you rationed when scarcity masqueraded as wisdom, home to the truth you muffled when silence seemed safer than speaking. But there is no safety in hiding from yourself. There is no peace in pretending to be someone you're not. There is no love in earning what should be given freely. There is only exhaustion, only the endless ache of living half a life, only the quiet desperation of a soul calling itself home through symptoms and synchronicities, and the persistent feeling that something is missing. What is missing is you. The real you, the you that existed before you learned to edit yourself for other people's comfort. The you that knew how to play before work became identity. The you that knew how to rest before productivity became virtue. The you that knew how to love before conditions were attached. In the depths of water, there is a darkness that is not emptiness but fullness. A darkness pregnant with possibility, rich with the nutrients that feed new life. You have been afraid of your own depths, mistaking them for dangerous territory, forgetting that diamonds form under pressure and pearls grow around irritation. Your darkness is not your enemy. It is your compost pile, your fertile ground, your creative womb. It is where your unused power has been hibernating, waiting for the courage to meet it with curiosity rather than judgment. It is where your wounded healer lives, where your authentic voice has been practicing, where your truest self has been patiently preparing for your return. You have been running from the very place your healing lives, seeking light everywhere except in the places where your own light has been buried, looking for love in all the faces except the one in the mirror, searching for home in every location except the one that beats within your chest. The journey inward is not about becoming someone new. It is about excavating who you have always been beneath the sediment of other people's expectations, beneath the stories that were told about you before you could tell your own, beneath the roles you were given before you could choose your own, beneath the fears that were inherited before you could question their relevance. You are an archaeologist of the soul now, carefully brushing away the dust from your own buried treasures. Each memory you reclaim with compassion rather than judgment. Each feeling you allow rather than suppress. Each dream you acknowledge rather than dismiss. Each need you honor rather than deny. This is holy work, sacred work, the work of integration, of coming home to the fullness of who you are. Not the sanitized version that others find acceptable, but the messy, complicated, beautifully human version that contains multitudes, the version that can hold joy and sorrow simultaneously, light and shadow as intimate partners, strength and vulnerability as complementary forces. You have been trying to love yourself by becoming lovable according to external standards, but you were lovable before you achieved anything, before you earned anything, before you fixed anything. You were lovable when you were learning to walk and falling down. You were lovable when you were asking questions that had no easy answers. You were lovable when you were feeling everything so deeply that it overwhelmed the adults around you. You are still that lovable, still that worthy, still that magnificent, even in your uncertainty, even in your struggle, even in your imperfection. Especially in your imperfection, because it is your cracks that let the light in, your wounds that teach you empathy, your questions that keep you growing. The river remembers every raindrop that has ever joined its flow, every stream that has surrendered its separate identity to merge with something larger. You too are both raindrop and river, individual and collective, unique and universal. Your story is your own, and yet it echoes in the hearts of everyone who has ever felt like a stranger in their own life. You're not alone in your aloneness. You're not the only one who has felt too much in a world that values numbness. Not the only one who has questioned everything in a culture that demands certainty. Not the only one who has loved so fully that it broke your heart open again and again until you wondered if it was safe to love at all. But broken hearts do not close, they expand. They develop a capacity for holding more than they ever thought possible. They learn that love is not about keeping yourself safe from pain, but about remaining open to beauty despite the risk of loss. They discover that vulnerability is not weakness, but the birthplace of courage, creativity, and connection. Your heart has been training for this moment when you stop trying to heal your sensitivity and start celebrating it as your superpower. This moment when you stop apologizing for your depth and start diving deeper. This moment when you stop hiding your light and start letting it shine so brightly that it gives others permission to find their own illumination. The world needs what you carry. Your questions that challenge assumptions, your compassion that sees beyond surfaces, your intuition that perceives what others miss, your creativity that imagines new possibilities, your love that insists on treating everyone as sacred even when they have forgotten their own divinity. You have been preparing for this work your entire life. Every wound has taught you empathy. Every rejection has shown you the importance of acceptance. Every moment of feeling unseen has deepened your capacity to truly see others. Every experience of not belonging has strengthened your commitment to creating spaces where everyone belongs. This is your calling. Not the career that others expect you to choose, but the deeper work of being fully human in a world that often rewards pretending. The work of staying open when cynicism seems safer. The work of choosing love when fear feels more familiar. The work of speaking truth when silence requires less courage. You did not come here to be small. You did not come here to hide. You did not come here to live someone else's version of your life. You came here to be you, in all your complexity, in all your contradiction, in all your magnificent imperfection. You came here to love and be loved, to create and be created, to question and be questioned. There is a place within you that has never been wounded, a place that remains untouched by criticism, unburdened by shame, undiminished by disappointment. It is the place where your soul lives, where your essence remains pure, where your original blueprint still glows with the same light that brought you into existence. This place is not hidden from you. It is hidden as you. You're not separate from your own source. You're not disconnected from your own power. You're not abandoned by your own love. You have simply been looking for yourself in all the wrong places, seeking external validation for an internal truth, asking others to mirror back what only you can recognize. You are the one you have been waiting for. You are the love you have been seeking. You are the permission you need to be yourself. You are the approval that matters most. You are the home you have been trying to find in other people's arms, other places, other achievements. This realization does not diminish the importance of connection with others. It enhances it. When you love yourself, you love from overflow rather than emptiness. When you approve of yourself, you need others' approval as celebration rather than validation. When you feel at home in yourself, you can meet others in their homelessness with compassion rather than codependence. The river does not seek the ocean's approval to flow. The moon does not ask permission to shine. The forest does not apologize for growing toward the light. They simply follow their nature, trust their rhythm, honor their design. And in doing so, they serve the whole. They contribute to the beauty. They participate in the sacred dance of existence. Your nature is love. Your rhythm is unique. Your design is perfect for the role you came here to play. You do not need to earn the right to be yourself. You do not need to justify your existence. You do not need to prove your worthiness. You simply need to remember who you are beneath all the stories about who you should be. The voice that tells you that you are not enough is not your voice. It is the voice of a world afraid of its own depth, its own power, its own magnificence. It is the voice of systems that require your smallness to maintain their control. It is the voice of wounds masquerading as wisdom, fear disguised as protection, scarcity pretending to be realism. Your voice is different. Your voice knows that you are enough exactly as you are. Your voice remembers that you were born worthy. Your voice whispers the truth that others tried to make you forget. Your voice is calling you home to yourself, back to your own knowing, into your own power. In the silence between heartbeats, there is a space where time stops and eternity reveals itself. In the pause between thoughts, There is a stillness where your soul speaks its deepest truths. In the moment between sleeping and waking, there is a threshold where dreams and reality merge into something new. You live in these spaces more than you realize. You're more familiar with mystery than you pretend. You're more connected to the sacred than you allow yourself to believe. You have been dismissing your intuitions as imagination, your synchronicities as coincidence, your dreams as nonsense, your feelings as irrationality. But what if your intuitions are your inner guidance system trying to navigate you toward your highest good? What if your synchronicities are the universe's way of confirming that you are on the right path? What if your dreams are your soul's attempt to show you what your conscious mind is not ready to see? What if your feelings are your body's wisdom trying to communicate what your intellect cannot yet understand? You've been living as if you are separate from the intelligence that beats your heart, grows your hair, heals your wounds without your conscious intervention, as if you are disconnected from the creativity that dreams your dreams, inspires your insights, moves through you when you are most alive and authentic. But you're not separate from this intelligence. You are this intelligence. You are not disconnected from this creativity. You are this creativity. You are not abandoned by this love. You are this love expressing itself through the unique instrument of your personality, your history, your perspective, your gifts. The mystics have always known this truth. The poets have always sung this song. The children remember this reality before they are taught to forget it. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. This knowing changes everything. It transforms suffering from meaningless pain into purposeful initiation. It shifts challenges from evidence of wrongness into opportunities for growth. It reframes your struggles from personal failures into collective healing work. It reveals your wounds as wisdom, your sensitivity as service, your journey as gift. You are not walking this path alone. You are supported by invisible forces, guided by inner knowing, held by a love that has no conditions, no expiration date, no ulterior motives. This love does not require you to be different than you are. It celebrates you exactly as you are while supporting your natural evolution into who you are becoming. The water teaches patience. It knows that the hardest stone eventually yields to gentle persistence. It knows that the deepest transformation happens slowly, imperceptibly, through consistent presence rather than forced change. It knows that power is not about domination but about alignment, not about control but about flow. You've been trying to heal yourself through force, through willpower and discipline and stern self-improvement, through pushing against your nature rather than partnering with it, through treating yourself as a problem to be solved rather than a garden to be tended. But healing is not violence against yourself. It is not warfare with your shadows or battle with your demons. It is not conquest of your humanity or transcendence of your needs. Healing is befriending. It is integration. It is the gentle art of learning to hold all parts of yourself with compassion. Your wounded parts are not enemies to be defeated. They are children to be welcomed home. They are aspects of yourself that did their best to protect you when protection was needed, that developed strategies to keep you safe when safety was uncertain, that learned to hide when hiding seemed like the only option for survival. These parts deserve gratitude, not judgment. Honor, not shame. Gentle integration, not violent exile. They carry gifts disguised as problems, strengths masquerading as weaknesses, wisdom dressed as wounding. Your anxiety carries hypervigilance that can become discernment. Your sadness holds empathy that can become compassion. Your anger contains boundaries that can become protection. The work is not to eliminate these aspects of yourself, but to mature them, to help them evolve from survival strategies into life-enhancing qualities, to thank them for their service while updating their job descriptions, to let them know that you are safe now, that you can handle more complexity, that you no longer need their protection in the same way. This is the work of integration, the sacred task of becoming whole. Not perfect, but complete. Not flawless, but integrated. Not invulnerable, but authentic. Not without shadow, but aware of it, in relationship with it. No longer controlled by it, but no longer at war with it either. Carl Jung understood this deeply when he observed that we cannot change anything until we accept it. That condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. That we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Your dreams have been trying to teach you this integration. Night after night, they present you with images and stories that your conscious mind struggles to understand, but your soul recognizes as essential communication. In dreams, opposites coexist. Light and shadow dance together. Past and future merge into eternal now. Your dreams know that the person you present to the world is only one facet of your full identity. They introduce you to the parts of yourself that you have forgotten, ignored, or rejected. The inner child who still needs play and wonder. The wise elder who already knows your deepest truths. The artist who sees beauty where others see problems. The healer who transforms pain into medicine. These are not separate people. They are all you. Different aspects of your complete self that have been waiting for conscious recognition, waiting to be integrated into your daily life, waiting to contribute their gifts to your wholeness. You are more complex, more creative, more powerful than the limited identity you have been living. Your symptoms are invitations to meet these neglected aspects of yourself. Your insomnia might be your creative self demanding attention after being ignored all day. Your anxiety might be your inner child asking for reassurance and safety. Your depression might be your soul's way of slowing you down so you can hear what you have been too busy to notice. Instead of medicating these messengers into silence, what if you listen to what they are trying to communicate? Instead of pushing through these interruptions to your planned life, what if you paused to receive their gifts? Instead of seeing these experiences as evidence of your brokenness, what if you recognize them as signs of your awakening? You're not broken. You're breaking open. You're not falling apart. You're falling awake. You're not losing your mind. You're finding your soul. The breakdown is the breakthrough. The crisis is the chrysalis. The dark night of the soul is the prelude to dawn. This understanding transforms everything. Suffering becomes sacred when you recognize it as transformation in disguise. Confusion becomes curiosity when you see it as the mind's way of preparing for new understanding. Loneliness becomes solitude when you realize it is creating space for deeper self-relationship. You have been fighting against the very experiences that are trying to initiate you into greater wholeness, resisting the lessons that would set you free, avoiding the depths that contain your greatest treasures, running from the darkness that holds your forgotten light. There is a place in your heart that has been waiting your entire life for you to visit. A place where all your exiled parts gather around a fire, telling stories of where they have been, what they have learned, how they have survived. They are not angry with you for forgetting them. They understand that forgetting was necessary for a while, that focus required exclusion, that growing up meant growing away from certain aspects of yourself. But now you are ready for the return, ready for the gathering, ready for the integration that will make you whole in a way you have never been whole before. Not the wholeness of never having been broken, but the wholeness of having been broken and consciously choosing to heal. This healing is not about returning to who you were before you were wounded. It is about becoming who you were always meant to be, informed by your wounds but not defined by them, strengthened by your struggles but not hardened by them, deepened by your pain but not diminished by it. You are becoming someone who can hold paradox without needing to resolve it, who can feel multiple emotions simultaneously without being confused by the complexity, who can love someone while also setting boundaries with them, who can be strong and vulnerable at the same time, who can be confident and curious, certain and open to change. This is the mature love that you have been seeking, not the love that requires you to be perfect, but the love that embraces your imperfection as part of your beauty. Not the love that demands you never change, but the love that supports your continuous becoming. Not the love that tries to complete you, but the love that celebrates your completeness while delighting in your evolution. You can give this love to yourself. You can become your own beloved, your own witness, your own sanctuary. This does not make you selfish or narcissistic. It makes you self-sourced, self-referential, self-sustaining in the healthiest way. It makes you someone who can love others freely because you're not trying to get love from them to fill an internal void. When you love yourself this way, your relationships transform. You stop trying to manipulate others into loving you the way you cannot love yourself. You stop settling for crumbs of affection because you know your own worth. You stop betraying yourself to maintain connections because you understand that any relationship requiring self-betrayal is not worth maintaining. The river does not beg the banks to contain it. It flows naturally, carving its own channel, following its own course. When obstacles appear, it finds a way around them or over them or through them, but it never stops flowing. It never apologizes for its depth, its power, its insistence on reaching the sea. You have been apologizing for your depth, making excuses for your sensitivity, minimizing your gifts to make others comfortable, hiding your light so others do not feel dim by comparison. But your dimming does not serve anyone. Your small playing does not heal the world's fear of greatness. Your self-betrayal does not teach others self-love. The world needs you to be fully yourself, completely, unapologetically, magnificently yourself. Not a watered-down version designed to offend no one. Not a carefully edited presentation aimed at universal approval. Not a performance calculated to earn love through entertainment or service or sacrifice. Just you, real you, complex you, growing you, learning you, feeling you, questioning you, creating you, loving you, human you, divine you, all of it, all of you, nothing hidden, nothing exiled, nothing apologized for. This is what authentic power looks like. Not the power that dominates others, but the power that liberates everyone through example. Not the power that hoards resources, but the power that creates abundance through generous sharing of gifts. Not the power that requires others to be small, but the power that invites everyone to discover their own magnitude. Your full self-expression is not selfish. It is service. Your authentic living is not self-indulgent. It is generous. Your commitment to your own wholeness is not narcissistic. It is necessary. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot teach what you have not learned. You cannot heal what you have not integrated. The healing of the world begins with the healing of individuals. The transformation of systems begins with the transformation of people. The evolution of consciousness begins with your willingness to evolve your own awareness. You are not responsible for healing everyone, but you are responsible for healing yourself. Not because you are broken, but because your healing contributes to the healing of the whole. Every time you choose love over fear, you strengthen love in the collective consciousness. Every time you choose truth over pretense, you make it easier for others to be authentic. Every time you choose growth over stagnation, you contribute to the evolution of humanity. Every time you choose wholeness over fragmentation, you help heal the splits that divide us from ourselves and each other. This is not pressure. This is invitation. This is not obligation. This is opportunity. This is not burden. This is blessing. You get to participate in the greatest adventure available to human beings, the adventure of becoming who you really are. The adventure of loving without conditions, the adventure of creating meaning from mystery. In the depths of water, there is a silence that speaks louder than any words, a stillness that moves more powerfully than any action, a darkness that illuminates more clearly than any light. This is the silence of the deep self, the stillness of authentic being, the darkness of the unconscious becoming conscious. Carl Jung knew this silence. He learned to listen to it, to trust it, to let it teach him what his intellect could not understand. He discovered that the unconscious is not a repository of repressed material, but a source of creative wisdom. That the shadow is not pure evil, but undeveloped potential. That the symptoms we try to cure are often the psyche's attempt to heal itself. Your vision becomes clear when you can look into your own heart, he wrote. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. You have been looking outside for so long, dreaming that someone else holds the key to your happiness, that some external circumstance will finally make you feel complete, that the right relationship or job or location will solve the puzzle of your existence. But the key is inside. The completion is inside. The solution is inside. Not because the external world does not matter, but because your relationship with the external world is determined by your relationship with your internal world. How you see others is influenced by how you see yourself. How you treat others reflects how you treat yourself. What you attract is often a mirror of what you believe you deserve. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate, Jung observed. The patterns that repeat in your life, the relationships that replay the same dynamics, the obstacles that seem to follow you wherever you go, are not evidence of bad luck or cosmic punishment. They are invitations to consciousness, opportunities to heal what has been hidden, chances to integrate what has been exiled. Your fate is not fixed. Your patterns are not permanent. Your story is not finished. Every moment offers the possibility of choice, the opportunity to respond differently than you have before, the chance to break cycles that no longer serve your growth. But this requires consciousness. It requires the willingness to see what you have been avoiding, to feel what you have been numbing, to know what you have been denying. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, Jung reminded us. Not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society expects you to be, not who you think you should be, but who you truly are in all your complexity, in all your contradiction, in all your magnificent humanity. This becoming is not a destination, but a process. Not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. Not a performance to be perfected, but an exploration to be enjoyed. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming more yourself, more authentic, more integrated, more whole. The river has been flowing for millennia, carrying stories from mountain to sea, connecting distant lands through liquid pathways, sustaining life through generous circulation. It does not question its worthiness to flow. It does not apologize for its meandering path. It does not compare itself to other rivers or wish it were an ocean instead. It simply flows, following gravity and geography, working with obstacles instead of against them, carving beauty wherever it goes. It trusts its nature, honors its purpose, serves the whole through being fully itself. This is the wisdom it offers you tonight. This is the teaching it whispers as you sit by its banks. You too have been flowing for years, carrying stories from past to future, connecting different aspects of yourself through the liquid pathways of memory and dream, sustaining your own life through the generous circulation of breath and blood and energy. You too have a nature to trust, a purpose to honor, a unique way of serving the whole. But you have been questioning your worthiness to flow, apologizing for your meandering path, comparing yourself to others instead of celebrating your uniqueness. You have been trying to be an ocean when you are a river, trying to be a mountain when you are a stream, trying to be someone else when you are perfectly yourself. Tonight, the questioning stops. Tonight, the apologizing ends. Tonight, the comparing ceases. Tonight, you remember that you're exactly where you need to be, exactly who you need to be, exactly how you need to be. Not because you have arrived at some final destination, but because every moment of your journey has been preparing you for this moment of recognition. You're not behind schedule. You're not off course. You're not broken or wrong or insufficient. You are right on time, following your perfect path whole and complete, even as you continue growing and changing and becoming. The river does not worry about being behind the schedule of other rivers. It flows at its own pace, following its own route, creating its own beauty. Your beauty is not like anyone else's beauty. Your gifts are not like anyone else's gifts. Your path is not like anyone else's path. Your timing is not like anyone else's timing. And this is not a flaw in the design. This is the design. This is how diversity creates richness, how uniqueness serves wholeness, how individual expression contributes to collective beauty. You have been trying to fit yourself into patterns that were never meant for you, following advice that works for others but does not work for you, forcing yourself into shapes that feel foreign to your natural form. But tonight, you give yourself permission to be the shape you naturally are, to follow the advice of your own inner wisdom, to trust the patterns that emerge from your authentic choices. In the space between one breath and the next, there is a pause where possibility lives. In the silence between words, there is a presence that speaks more eloquently than language. In the darkness between thoughts, there is a light that illuminates without blinding. You have been living in this space more than you realize. You have been breathing this possibility, speaking this presence, radiating this light. But you have been so focused on the content of your experience that you have missed the context, so absorbed in the story that you have forgotten the storyteller, so identified with the waves that you have lost awareness of the ocean. You are not just the experiences you have had, you are the one who has been having them. You are not just the thoughts you think, you are the awareness in which thoughts arise. You are not just the emotions you feel, you are the space in which feelings come and go. This awareness is your truest self, unborn and undying, unchanging yet intimately present in all change. Formless yet the source of all form. This is the self that was never wounded though it witnessed wounding, that was never lost though it experienced confusion, That was never separate, though it felt lonely. That was never insufficient, though it yearned for completion. This self does not need healing because it was never broken. It does not need finding because it was never lost. It does not need completing because it is already whole. But the personality that formed around this self, the identity that developed through experience, the character that learned to navigate the world, does need integration, does need healing, does need the conscious recognition of its own wholeness. You are both, human and divine, wounded and whole, learning and already knowing, seeking and already finding. This is not contradiction. This is complexity. This is the beautiful paradox of being human. You get to experience limitation while being unlimited. You get to feel separate while being connected. You get to grow while being complete. The spiritual journey is not about transcending your humanity. It is about embracing it so fully that you discover the divinity within it. It is not about becoming something other than human. It is about becoming fully human. Not about escaping the world, but about loving the world so completely that you transform it through the quality of your presence. This presence is what the world needs from you. Not your perfection, but your authenticity. Not your invulnerability, but your openness. Not your having figured everything out, but your willingness to keep exploring. Not your answers, but your questions. Not your certainty, but your curiosity. Not your completeness, but your willingness to keep growing. The moon above reflects in the water below, creating a bridge of light between sky and earth, between heaven and human. You are this bridge. You are the place where spirit meets matter, where infinite meets finite, where eternal meets temporal. You're not separate from either realm. You belong to both. You serve both through being fully present to your human experience while remaining connected to your spiritual essence. This is why your sensitivity is a gift, not a burden. Why your depth is medicine, not pathology. Why your questions are wisdom, not ignorance. Why your struggles are initiation, not punishment. Why your wounds are doorways, not dead ends. You're designed to feel deeply, to perceive subtly, to love fully, to question courageously, to grow continuously. The world has forgotten this design. It has created systems that reward numbness over sensitivity, surface over depth, answers over questions, staying the same over growing, achieving over being. But these systems are breaking down because they are not sustainable. They do not honour the full spectrum of human potential. They do not nurture what is most beautiful and necessary in human nature. You are part of the new system being born, the system that honours sensitivity as intelligence, that celebrates depth as richness, that welcomes questions as doorways to discovery, that supports growth as natural, that values being as much as doing. You're not weird for struggling with the old system. You're evolutionary for outgrowing it. Your struggles are not evidence of your failure to adapt to a dysfunctional system. They are evidence of your refusal to betray your own nature to fit into a system that does not serve life. Your sensitivity is not pathology. It is prophecy. It is your soul's way of perceiving what needs to change and refusing to accept what does not serve wholeness. You have been trying to heal yourself so you can fit into a sick system. But healing is not about adaptation to dysfunction. It is about remembering your wholeness so you can contribute to creating a healthier world. It is not about becoming someone who can tolerate what should not be tolerated. It is about becoming someone who can envision and create what should be celebrated. Your healing serves evolution. Your wholeness serves transformation. Your authenticity serves liberation. Not just your own, but collective liberation from the illusions that keep humanity trapped in cycles of suffering, separation, and scarcity. You are not just healing for yourself. You are healing for your ancestors who could not heal. You are healing for your descendants who deserve a healthier world. This is sacred work. This is the work that matters most, not the work that pays the most or gets the most recognition or seems the most practical, but the work of becoming whole, of staying awake, of loving without conditions, of creating beauty from brokenness, of finding meaning in mystery. Every time you choose healing over hurting, you heal something in the ancestral line. Every time you choose love over fear, you contribute to the love available to future generations. Every time you choose truth over pretense, or you make it easier for others to be authentic. Every time you choose growth over stagnation, you participate in the evolution of consciousness. This is not pressure. This is privilege. You get to be alive at a time when consciousness is expanding, when old systems are crumbling to make room for new possibilities, when sensitivity is being recognized as strength, when depth is being valued as wisdom, when authenticity is being celebrated as courage. You are not too late. You are right on time. You're not too much. You're exactly enough. You're not too different. You are perfectly yourself. And being perfectly yourself is your greatest contribution to a world that has forgotten what authenticity looks like. The water moves in spirals, creating whirlpools that draw surface debris down into the depths where it can be transformed into nutrients that feed new life. Your challenges follow the same pattern. They draw you down into depths you would never choose to explore voluntarily. But once you are there, you discover treasures you could never have found any other way. Your depression has taught you compassion for others who struggle with invisible pain. Your anxiety has developed your sensitivity to subtle energies and dangers that others miss. Your grief has opened your heart to a love deeper than happiness. Your loneliness has created space for a relationship with yourself that no external relationship could provide. These are not consolation prizes for suffering. These are not attempts to find silver linings in traumatic clouds. These are recognitions of the alchemical process by which lead becomes gold, by which wounds become wisdom, by which breakdown becomes breakthrough. This is how the psyche works. This is how healing happens. This is how humans grow. Carl Jung understood this process deeply. The word happiness would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness, he observed. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity. Not passive resignation, but active acceptance. Not giving up, but opening up. Not surrender to circumstances, but surrender to the flow of life that includes all circumstances. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, Jung noted. The people who trigger you are showing you parts of yourself that need attention. The situations that challenge you are revealing aspects of your character that are ready to evolve. The obstacles that appear in your path are not punishments, but opportunities for growth. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become, Jung reminded us. Your past informs your present but does not determine your future. Your wounds influence your choices but do not eliminate your options. Your conditioning affects your responses but does not remove your ability to choose different responses. You have more power than you realize, more choice than you remember, more influence over your experience than you have been taught. Not the power to control external circumstances, but the power to choose your internal response to those circumstances. Not the choice to eliminate all challenges, but the choice to find meaning and growth in whatever challenges appear. This is the difference between being a victim of your life and being the author of your life. Victims have things happen to them. Authors make things happen through them. Victims are at the mercy of circumstances. Authors use circumstances as raw material for creating something meaningful. You've been living as if life is happening to you rather than through you. As if you are a passenger rather than a pilot. As if you are a reactor rather than a creator. But tonight, you remember your creative power. Tonight, you reclaim your authorship. Tonight, you step into the driver's seat of your own experience. This does not mean you can control everything that happens. It means you can influence how what happens affect you. This does not mean you can avoid all pain. It means you can transform pain into wisdom. This does not mean you can eliminate all problems. It means you can develop the capacity to find opportunities within problems. You are not powerless. You are not helpless. You are not at the mercy of forces beyond your control. You're infinitely creative, endlessly resourceful, constantly capable of finding new ways to respond to old patterns. You are not trapped by your past unless you choose to be. You are not limited by your conditioning unless you accept those limitations as permanent. Every moment offers the possibility of choice. Every breath is an opportunity to begin again. Every day is a blank page on which you can write a new story. Every relationship is a chance to practice a different way of loving. Every challenge is an invitation to discover a strength you did not know you had. The river teaches this lesson through its constant movement. It is never the same water twice, yet it maintains its essential river nature. It adapts to changing landscapes while following its unchanging purpose. It works with obstacles instead of against them, finding ways around or over or through whatever blocks its path. You too can maintain your essential nature while adapting to changing circumstances. You too can follow your unchanging purpose while adjusting your methods. You two can work with obstacles instead of against them, finding creative solutions instead of forcing resistance. Your essential nature is love. Your unchanging purpose is growth. Your creative solutions are infinite. You have been underestimating your capacity to navigate challenge, to transform difficulty, to find beauty in brokenness. You have been focusing on what you cannot do instead of discovering what you can do. You have been emphasizing your limitations instead of exploring your potential. Tonight, the emphasis shifts. Tonight, you remember what you can do. Tonight, you explore your potential. Tonight, you discover that you are far more capable than you have been telling yourself, far more resilient than you have been believing, far more creative than you have been allowing. In the deepest part of the river, there is a place where the current slows and the water grows still. Here, sediment settles and clarity emerges. Here, reflection becomes possible. Here, the surface mirrors the sky so perfectly that heaven and earth appear as one seamless whole. You have found this place within yourself tonight, this place of stillness where clarity emerges and reflection becomes possible. From this place, you can see your life with new perspective. The struggles that seem so overwhelming appear as necessary initiations. The relationships that brought so much pain reveal themselves as profound teachers. The losses that felt like endings show themselves as disguised beginnings. The failures that seemed like evidence of inadequacy transform into proof of courage to keep trying. This is not positive thinking overlaying negative reality. This is clear seeing that recognizes the hidden wholeness within apparent fragmentation. This is wisdom that understands how everything serves everything else in the web of existence. This is love that perceives the sacred within the mundane, the eternal within the temporal, the infinite within the finite. You are not separate from this web. You are not outside this wholeness. You are not excluded from this love. You are an integral part of the pattern, a necessary thread in the weaving, a unique note in the symphony. Your life matters not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are. Your story matters not because it is perfect, but because it is yours. The perfectionist voice that has been driving you toward impossible standards is not your friend. It is not helping you grow. It is keeping you trapped in cycles of striving and failing, achieving and emptying, succeeding and still feeling insufficient. This voice believes that love must be earned, that worth must be proven, that acceptance must be achieved. But this voice is wrong. Love is your birthright. Worth is your inheritance. Acceptance is your natural state. You do not need to earn what you already are. You do not need to prove what is already true. You do not need to achieve what you already possess. The voice of your true self speaks differently. It whispers of inherent worth, unconditional love, natural belonging. It reminds you that you were lovable before you accomplished anything, that you will be lovable even if you accomplish nothing more, that your lovability is not dependent on external validation but is an intrinsic quality of your being. This voice has been speaking to you all along, but it has been drowned out by the louder voices of conditioning, comparison, and criticism. Tonight, you learn to listen beneath the noise. Tonight, you attune to the frequency of your own wisdom. Tonight, you remember how to hear the truth about yourself. Carl Jung spoke of a process he called individuation, the psychological integration of the conscious and unconscious parts of the mind so that a person becomes whole and unified. This is not about becoming perfect or transcending your humanity. It is about becoming authentic, about integrating all aspects of yourself into a coherent whole, about living from your center rather than from your edges. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, Jung observed. Not just the parts you like, but all parts. Not just your strengths, but your weaknesses. Not just your light, but your shadow. Not just your successes, but your failures. Not just your love, but your fear. Not just your joy, but your sorrow. All of it. The full spectrum of your humanity. This acceptance is not resignation. It is recognition. It is seeing clearly what is true without judgment, without the need to fix or change or improve immediately. It is creating space for transformation by first creating space for what is already here. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot integrate what you insist on rejecting. You cannot love what you are determined to hate. Your shadow, the parts of yourself you have disowned, rejected, hidden, denied, does not go away when you ignore it. It goes underground, where it influences your behavior in unconscious ways. It projects itself onto others, making you see in them what you refuse to see in yourself. It sabotages your efforts, undermines your relationships, and limits your potential from the darkness of denial. But when you turn toward your shadow with curiosity rather than judgment, when you approach your disowned parts with compassion rather than condemnation, when you invite your exiled aspects back home with love rather than rejection, something magical happens. What you thought was pure evil reveals itself as misguided good. What you believed was weakness shows itself as strength in disguise. What you assumed was pathology presents itself as medicine awaiting integration. Your anger is not evil. It is passion misdirected. Your fear is not cowardice. It is care expressing itself through worry. Your sadness is not weakness. It is love grieving what it has lost. Your jealousy is not petty. It is recognition of what you desire. Your shame is not truth. It is protection masquerading as self-preservation. Every aspect of your shadow carries gifts that your conscious self needs. Your inner critic holds your standards and your commitment to excellence. Your rebel holds your independence and your refusal to conform to what does not serve life. Your victim holds your sensitivity and your awareness of injustice. Your perfectionist holds your vision of what is possible and your dedication to quality. The work is not to eliminate these aspects, but to mature them, to help them evolve from unconscious compulsion to conscious choice, from automatic reaction to thoughtful response, from rigid position to flexible resource. The moon has been watching this river for countless nights, witnessing its changes while remaining constant in its own cycling nature, sometimes full and bright, sometimes dark and hidden, sometimes waxing toward fullness, sometimes waning toward darkness, always moving through its phases, always returning to itself, always maintaining its essential moon nature while expressing different faces. You too move through phases, sometimes bright and confident, sometimes dark and withdrawn, sometimes growing toward expansion, sometimes contracting toward introspection. This is not evidence of instability or inconsistency. This is the natural rhythm of a healthy psyche, the organic pulsing of a whole human being, the sacred breathing of a soul learning to live in time while connected to eternity. You have been trying to stay in one phase, to maintain consistent brightness, to avoid the natural contractions that make expansion possible. But this is like trying to hold your breath forever, like demanding that the moon remain perpetually full, like insisting that the river flow always at the same speed. It is not natural, not sustainable, not healthy. Your dark times are not failures. They are necessary phases of integration, periods of composting where old forms break down to nourish new growth, seasons of rest that prepare you for the next cycle of creative expression. Your confusion is not evidence of stupidity, but of a mind making room for new understanding. Your sadness is not proof of brokenness, but of a heart that cares deeply enough to grieve. These phases have their own intelligence, their own timing, their own gifts. Fighting against them exhausts you unnecessarily and prevents you from receiving what they offer. Accepting them allows you to move through them more gracefully and to harvest their wisdom more completely. Tonight, you make peace with your phases. Tonight, you honor your rhythms. Tonight, you stop demanding that you be the same all the time and start appreciating the richness that comes from change. Tonight, you remember that consistency is not about staying the same, but about staying true to your essential nature while expressing it through different forms. The river is consistently a river whether it is rushing or meandering, whether it is wide or narrow, whether it is deep or shallow. Its consistency lies not in its appearance, but in its essence, not in its form, but in its function, not in its mood, but in its movement toward the sea. Your consistency lies in your commitment to growth, your dedication to truth, your willingness to love. These qualities can express themselves through joy or sorrow, confidence or uncertainty, clarity or confusion. You do not need to feel the same all the time to be the same person. You do not need to act the same all the time to maintain your identity. You do not need to think the same all the time to preserve your integrity. There is a depth in you that has never been touched by circumstance, not by forcing or striving or struggling, but by following your natural course, trusting the gravity of your own soul's direction, working with your inner landscape rather than against it. Each challenge teaches you something new about resilience. Each obstacle reveals new possibilities for growth. Each connection with others increases your capacity for love and deepens your understanding of yourself. You do not need to know the exact path to trust the direction. You do not need to see the destination to take the next step. You do not need to understand the purpose of every experience to trust that it serves your highest good. The river does not need to see the ocean to know that it is moving in the right direction. It simply follows its nature, responds to what is present, keeps flowing. Your nature is growth. Your response to what is present can be curiosity instead of resistance. Your flowing can continue regardless of the terrain. You're not stuck, even when you feel stuck. You're not stopped, even when progress seems impossible. You're not lost, even when you do not know where you're going. Sometimes the river pools in quiet lakes, gathering depth and stillness before continuing its journey. Sometimes it rushes over waterfalls, releasing old forms in spectacular transformation. Sometimes it meanders through meadows, taking time to nourish the land it passes through. All of these are natural movements. All serve the river's ultimate purpose. All are perfect expressions of water following its essential nature. Your quiet times are not stagnation but depth gathering. Your dramatic changes are not chaos but necessary transformation. Your gentle periods are not laziness but nourishment of yourself and others. All of these are natural movements of a soul, following its essential nature toward its ultimate expansion. The ocean receives all rivers without judgment. It does not reject the small streams or prefer the mighty torrents. It welcomes all water back to itself, recognizing its own essence in every drop. The source that calls you home also receives you without judgment, welcomes all expressions of yourself without preference, recognizes its own essence in every aspect of your being. You're already worthy of this welcome. You're already deserving of this recognition. You're already perfect for this homecoming, not because you have earned it through achievement or good behavior, but because you are it. You're the ocean pretending to be a river, the infinite pretending to be finite, the eternal pretending to be temporal. Carl Jung wrote, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. You have been seeking love in all the wrong places, looking for it in other people's approval, in achievements and accomplishments, in the accumulation of experiences and possessions. But love is not something you find outside yourself. It is something you uncover inside yourself by removing the barriers you have built against it. These barriers were built for good reasons, to protect you from rejection, to shield you from disappointment, to guard you from vulnerability. But what once served as protection now serves as prison. What once kept you safe now keeps you separate. What once preserved you now prevents you from receiving the very thing you most deeply desire. The barrier of perfectionism tells you that you must be flawless to be lovable. But perfection is not what makes someone lovable. Authenticity is, vulnerability is, humanity is. The willingness to be seen in your imperfection, to be loved in your complexity, to be accepted in your wholeness. The barrier of people-pleasing tells you that you must make others happy to earn their love. But love that must be earned is not love. It is transaction. It is contract. It is conditional exchange. Real love is given freely, received gratefully, shared abundantly. It does not require you to betray yourself to maintain it. The barrier of self-criticism tells you that you must punish yourself for your mistakes to prove that you know better. But punishment does not promote learning. Compassion does. Kindness does. Understanding does. The same grace you would offer a friend struggling with the same challenges you face. The barrier of emotional numbness tells you that you must protect yourself from feeling too much to avoid being hurt. But feeling is not the problem. Feeling is the solution. Feeling is how you know you are alive. Feeling is how you connect with others. Feeling is how you navigate your way back to yourself. Tonight, these barriers begin to dissolve, not through force or willpower, but through the gentle recognition that they are no longer necessary. You're strong enough now to be vulnerable, wise enough now to be authentic, loved enough now to be yourself, safe enough now to feel everything. The love you've been seeking has been there all along, waiting patiently behind the barriers, never leaving even when you could not feel it, never diminishing even when you pushed it away, never giving up even when you gave up on yourself. This love does not require you to be different than you are. It celebrates you exactly as you are while supporting your natural evolution into who you are becoming. In the deepest darkness of night, there is a light that needs no external source to shine. It is the light of consciousness itself, the inherent radiance of awareness, the natural luminosity of being. This light has been with you always, illuminating your experiences from within, making perception possible, creating the very space in which life unfolds. You're not separate from this light. You are this light, temporarily identifying with the forms it illuminates, rather than recognizing yourself as the illumination itself. You are not the thoughts you think, but the awareness that witnesses thinking. You are not the emotions you feel, but the presence that experiences feeling. You're not the sensations you perceive, but the consciousness that makes perception possible. This consciousness is untouched by experience while being intimately present in all experience. It remains pure regardless of what passes through it, stable regardless of what changes within it, whole regardless of what appears to be broken within it. This is your true self, your essential nature, your deepest identity. From this perspective, your struggles take on a different meaning. They are not happening to your true self, but within it. They are not threatening your essential being, but are temporary experiences arising in the space of your awareness. They are not evidence of your limitations, but opportunities for your unlimited consciousness to explore what it means to be human. This understanding brings tremendous freedom. Freedom from the need to fix yourself because you recognize that you are not broken. Freedom from the compulsion to perfect yourself because you see that you are already perfect in your essence. Freedom from the drive to complete yourself because you know that you are already whole. This does not mean that growth stops or healing becomes unnecessary. It means that growth happens from wholeness rather than from brokenness, that healing happens from love rather than from judgment, that change happens from acceptance rather than from resistance. You grow not because you are inadequate, but because growth is your nature. You heal not because you are damaged, but because healing is love in action. You change not because you are wrong, but because change is life expressing itself. The paradox is that when you stop trying to fix yourself, you naturally begin to heal. When you stop pushing for change, you naturally begin to transform. When you stop seeking completion, you discover that you have always been whole. This is not passive resignation, but active acceptance. Not giving up, but opening up. Not surrender to circumstances, but surrender to the flow of life that includes all circumstances. The river has been your teacher tonight, showing you how to flow around obstacles rather than fighting them, how to carve new channels when old ones become blocked, how to remain essentially yourself while adapting to changing terrain. But the greatest teaching the river offers is about destination and journey, about reaching the sea while being fully present to each moment of flowing. The river does not rush anxiously toward the ocean, missing the beauty of the meadows it passes through. It does not resist the mountains that shape its course, or resent the rocks that create its rapids. It does not compare itself to other rivers, or wish it were following a different path. It flows fully present to where it is while naturally moving toward where it is going. You too can be fully present to where you are while naturally moving toward where you are going. You do not need to sacrifice presence for progress or progress for presence. You do not need to choose between accepting where you are and moving toward where you want to be. You can do both simultaneously, just as the river does. Your destination is not some future state of perfection, but a present moment recognition of the perfection that already exists within your imperfection. Your journey is not about becoming someone else, but about becoming more yourself. Your growth is not about fixing what is wrong, but about expressing what is right. Not about eliminating your humanity, but about embracing it fully. This embrace includes everything: your joy and your sorrow, your confidence and your uncertainty, your clarity and your confusion, your successes and your failures, your strengths and your vulnerabilities, your light and your shadow. All of it belongs. All of it serves. All of it contributes to the unique beauty of your individual expression of the universal human experience. Tonight, you have remembered this. Tonight, you have come home to yourself. Tonight, you have reclaimed your birthright of wholeness, your inheritance of love, your natural state of belonging, not because you have achieved something special, but because you have recognized something true. Not because you have become someone different, but because you have remembered who you have always been. The river asks your name one last time, but now you know the answer. You are the one who flows. You are the one who grows. You are the one who loves. You are the one who creates beauty from challenge, meaning from mystery, connection from separation. You are the one who shows up, who keeps going, who chooses healing, who dares to hope. In this final stillness by the water's edge, you sit with the profound quiet that comes after deep recognition, the kind of silence that follows truth-telling, the spaciousness that opens when masks are finally set aside, the peace that emerges when you stop fighting against yourself and start flowing with your own nature. Carl Jung knew this silence. He understood that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Tonight, you have met yourself. The personality you thought you were has encountered the self you have always been. The reaction has been transformative. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes, Jung reminded us. You have been looking outside for so long, dreaming that fulfillment would come from external sources, that completion would arrive through external circumstances, that love would be delivered by external providers. But tonight, you have looked inside. Tonight, you have awakened to the truth that everything you have been seeking outside already exists within. This awakening is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. A daily choosing to remember rather than forget, to trust rather than doubt, to flow rather than force. It is the commitment to treating yourself with the same compassion you would offer your dearest friend. The dedication to speaking to yourself with the same kindness you would use with someone you deeply love. The river continues to flow beside you, carrying your old stories downstream toward the sea where all stories eventually merge into the vastness of simply being. You do not need to carry these stories anymore. You do not need to drag your past behind you like a heavy anchor or push your future ahead of you like an impossible burden. You can travel light now, carrying only this moment, this breath, this choice to be present to what is while remaining open to what is becoming. You can trust the current of your own life to carry you toward your highest good, even when you cannot see around the next bend, even when the path seems unclear, even when the destination remains a mystery. The water reflects the first hint of dawn approaching, a gentle lightening of the darkness that promises but does not rush the coming day. Like your own awakening, it happens gradually, naturally, in its own perfect timing. There is no need to force the sunrise, no way to hurry the process, no benefit in resisting the natural rhythm of darkness giving way to light. You are this dawn, you are this gradual awakening, you are this natural rhythm of darkness becoming light. Not because you have done anything to earn it, but because this is the nature of consciousness itself, to expand, to illuminate, to recognize itself in all its expressions. As you prepare to leave this sacred space by the water, you carry with you not new knowledge but ancient remembering, not additional burdens but increased lightness, not more complexity but profound simplicity. You carry the truth that you are enough, have always been enough, will always be enough exactly as you are. This truth will be tested. The world will continue to offer you opportunities to forget, to doubt, to shrink back into old patterns of self-rejection and self-abandonment. But now you have a choice. Now you have a reference point. Now you know what it feels like to come home to yourself, and you can find your way back whenever you wander. The practices that will support this remembering are simple. Breathing consciously when you feel disconnected from yourself, speaking kindly to yourself when the inner critic grows loud, pausing to feel your feelings instead of rushing past them, asking yourself what you need instead of what you should do, choosing what nourishes you instead of what depletes you. These are not selfish acts. They are acts of self-love that create a foundation for loving others authentically. They are acts of self-respect that model healthy relationships. They are acts of self-care that ensure you have something real to offer the world instead of giving from an empty well. Your healing ripples outward in ways you may never fully know. Every moment you choose love over fear, you strengthen love in the collective consciousness. Every time you treat yourself with kindness, you make it easier for others to be kind to themselves. Every instance of accepting your own imperfection helps heal the perfectionism that keeps humanity trapped in cycles of self-rejection. You're not just healing for yourself, you're healing for all of us. Your courage to be vulnerable gives others permission to be authentic. Your willingness to feel deeply creates space for others to honor their own emotions. Your commitment to growth inspires others to embrace their own becoming. This is the true meaning of service, not sacrificing yourself for others, but becoming so authentically yourself that your very presence helps others remember who they are. not hiding your light to make others comfortable, but shining so brightly that you illuminate the path for others to find their own radiance. The river whispers its final teaching as you rise to leave. It speaks of cycles and returns, of how every ending is also a beginning, of how water that reaches the sea eventually rises as clouds to fall again as rain, to flow again toward home. Your journey too is circular. Every return to yourself makes the next departure less frightening. Every homecoming makes the next adventure more possible. You walk away from the water carrying the river within you, carrying the moon's reflection in your eyes, carrying the wisdom of darkness that reveals light, carrying the knowledge that you are both drop and ocean, wave and stillness, journey and destination. The path ahead remains unknown, but you no longer need to know it in advance. You trust your ability to navigate whatever terrain appears. You trust your capacity to find your way, to ask for help when needed, to rest when tired, to celebrate when joy arises, to grieve when loss appears. You trust yourself, not because you will never make mistakes, but because you will learn from them. Not because you will never feel lost, but because you will find your way back. Not because you will never struggle, but because you will continue growing through whatever challenges arise. This trust is not naive optimism, but mature faith. Faith in the process of becoming, in the intelligence of your own unfolding, in the love that holds you even when you cannot feel it. Faith that your life has meaning even when you cannot see the pattern, that your struggles serve purposes even when you cannot understand them, that your presence matters even when you cannot measure the impact. You are loved beyond your capacity to comprehend, held beyond your ability to perceive, supported beyond your power to recognize, not because you have earned this love through good behavior, but because love is what you are. Not because you have proven your worthiness through achievement, but because worthiness is your birthright. Not because you have solved all your problems, but because you are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived, a song to be sung, a dance to be danced, a love to be expressed, a light to be shared. A unique and irreplaceable expression of the infinite creativity that creates and sustains all life. As you walk back toward your ordinary world, you carry this extraordinary truth with you. You're not ordinary, even in your most mundane moments. You're miraculous, even in your most difficult struggles. You're sacred, even in your most human failings. The night has taught you what the day often obscures. The darkness has revealed what the light sometimes hides. The silence has spoken what words cannot fully express. You are whole. You are loved. You are enough. You have always been enough. The river knows your name now. It is the same name it has always known. The name that was whispered when you were born, that echoes in your heartbeat, that calls you home to yourself again and again. Your name is love. Your name is light. Your name is life itself, experiencing itself through the beautiful, complex, perfectly imperfect vessel of your humanity. Rest now in this knowing. Sleep now in this peace. Dream now in this love. You are home.